Hey, Bob Meek, he is a political consultant. You've heard him on public radio, and he is following this for a long time, and he always comes here when we have questions. Welcome to Bulahdan,
Thank you for
Bob. The business of radical. I don't know. It's not an ideology by itself, because we used to use the L word, liberal,
Yes,
even during Bush.
Yeah.
L word. I mean, as the history of this phenomena that anybody try to ask for a little change, he's radical. I mean, I don't think Lincoln was radical when he talk about civil war and go fight, and also FDR, talking about, was he radical?
Radical has a bad name.
Yeah.
Because the truth is, Lincoln was such a radical that he overthrew the existing party structure at the time, creating a new radical, anti-slavery, progressive in terms of like building universities and railroads and everything. I mean, and Franklin Roosevelt, they organized to try to have a coup to take him out in the first months of 1933. That's the rich, wealthy, and the military-industrial people. They were all organized. They were going to have a coup. He was so he said, I'm going to take on the money changers. This country is being killed by
Industrial complex.
Yeah. So radical, and particularly in the Minnesota tradition, there wouldn't even be politics in Minnesota without radicals. Primarily, Democrats came out of the Farmer Labor Party, which was progressives that were
representing the workers. What was the radical
well,
idea?
I was going to say they weren't communists necessarily, but they were certainly cooperativists, and they basically weren't capitalists. And that tradition here in the Midwest, North Dakota, South Dakota, the Wisconsin, the La Follettes, all of this has been, and it was far more than just liberals. It was radicals in terms of changing the way senators would be elected by the people rather than by the legislatures.
So radical dealing with a political structure,
Yep.
or dealing with a power relationship, because we still have corporate America running the show, and we're not addressing that. But what I'm talking, are those radical like Lincoln and FDR, and now we have those, the three young.
See, I would say they fit perfectly in this.
It's this genre.
Yes.
But were they actually radical politicians, their background history, or they are responding to a radical socioeconomics, and then people are responding? Well, here we are responding to a lot of angry Americans.
Yeah, I think the politics do fit the times, and so there are people who will say that we are sort of on the edge of our own civil war in this country. And obviously that was true during Lincoln's time. And if you go back to FDR and coming out of the Depression, that was considered, you go down the streets of Minneapolis and people were getting their heads bashed in by the private police. These times demanded radical change, and the old party structures, frankly, if you kind of push them, they'll fall over. And that's what the new Democrats in the House understand. And they aren't going to run the place, but the way the Freedom Caucus calls the tune for the Republicans and says you can go this far and you can go no further, that's what's going to happen with the new Democrats.
Well, the fight always wasn't so much, we know the radical rights, we know how Trump addressed that and won. Trump is the least qualified president we ever had, but he won based on those angry white men and women that they saw change around him. But I think it's the problem with the left, and the radical left, the so-called left, is the Democratic establishment itself. That are the one who try to tame that people from going too far, as they say. And actually they're doing it now with Alexandria and Rashida and all of this.
And some of all that is just nicely expected. I mean, the New Democrats, they're doing their job. And these, we'll call them moderate or whatever, the old Democrats, they're
centrist.
They're saying, don't run against us in primaries.
Yeah.
Don't push on why don't you direct your fire at the Republicans?
Yeah.
And I'm 50 years of politics. I think life would be very easy if we just ran against all of the evil of Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell and that whole cast of weak-kneed Republicans, but that isn't the way it's going to be. We're starting the debates, I think in June or so. We are going to carve out what we normally do. We'll have a left lane, and we'll have
two lane on the left,
and we'll have a center left lane,
yeah,
and we'll have a center lane, and those, the great thing is we just don't know what's going to happen from day to day. Hell, I was for Beto or Boric. I mean, I'm for everybody.
Yeah,
I'm anybody who will beat
yeah,
Trump. But I was 100% for Beto until I saw that he was getting his teeth cleaned on a live stream. And now, there's some things that
who's consulting?
Some things that just seem a little too indulgent. And by the same token, the absolute moneyed, wealthy, conservative, blessed Pelosi and Schumer are made to look like Eddie Arnold and Gabor from the Green Acres. So,
what is this coming from? Are they aware of? We're not, in an age of social media and visual, and everything is visual now.
Yep.
And they are sharing this podium like two urinalites.
Yeah, they're out of their minds, and because, if the Democratic Party has anything, we got all of Hollywood.
Yeah.
We have all of the rock music that does all the videos. I mean, they could have, put a diamond and had Stephen Colbert's producer come down and
put a green screen like we're doing here.
Yeah. So nobody. But here, as I just sit as a person, I started in politics. I was like 17, and it was 1970. Now, just the idea that our president is 73 years old, and that all excuses or praise to Joe Biden, but he'd be like 78, 79, starting
what
the campaign.
What does that tell us?
What? Honest to God, I'll call her AOC because it's easier than me mispronounce your name.
Too.
And Omar, they are the future, and it is the governor of Colorado years ago, when they are having this whole big national discussion about Social Security and money for education on the other hand, and blah, blah, blah. And the governor of Colorado said, old people have to understand there is a duty to die. Otherwise, we're taking all the money that could be doing the pre-K and getting all the vaccinations right, and having all the child care paid for and everything, and what they used to call was the greedy geezers, were essentially what is now the AARP of the world. And, you know, as an older person, now I had my 65th birthday the other day.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, I'm lucky to be alive. Yeah. And so, but it's a little harder to step aside once you get there. But it's all, you know, we're the party that celebrated Jack Kennedy at 42 and 43 years old.
Well, you know, we have
crazy
Obama,
for Obama, 47, 48.
Clinton was young, but the thing is it really about when you are in even in the Democratic Party, when you are there for that long, you know, and you know, you test all sorts of idea. I've seen it all. Is it about power or is it about idea? I don't know what the fight was all about. I mean, when everybody now going after Rashida Tlaib about her, you know, she was talking in a bar with her supporter, and it's just we're gonna impeach the motherfucker. So I mean, everybody is focused on this.
You know, unfortunately, she had listened to some of the president's tapes. And of course, yeah. It's one
That's
of,
how you win.
Well, no, it's one of Trump's favorite things. He was up before some group,
yeah.
And you know, we can either go, oh, you know, I hope you'll take care of this for us, you'll do this very fine, or we can say, you MFers, you get the hell out of here, and because we're going to take over.
Mad. We need to be mad. We need to be angry.
So, when the old fart male, I could say a million things about it, but I'll stop at that.
Accused of all sorts of stuff.
When he wants to say something, you know, he has license to do whatever he pleases. But you take a young person, particularly, you take a young woman, it's open season, and that's what we saw. And I think that's what people in the Democratic Party generally won't stand for. I mean,
she got enough support, you're right, from Pelosi and other Democratic member of the party, but also, do you think this outrage against her for this, you know, mess, whatever she said, profanity, whatever, you know, this language now, and nowadays everybody is using it. You use it in even in a restaurant, bar. But what do you think? Because she's a woman, or because she was black, African, Palestinians, Muslim?
I think you're there.
Yeah, no, she is a nightmare of.
I think you got all the pieces.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if I'm her media advisor, first of all, she never gets elected, because I would never have had her be able to campaign as vibrantly as she did, which is why she was able to win.
Yeah.
But certainly I would never let her say those words at this point. And it's like, hey, I'm not the voter. And she got elected, and you know, she feels that and she's apologized, she's made her comments and so forth. But come on.
But the way she handled it,
I think profanity is by the government. It's by the policies that the government is conducting.
I mean, shutting the government,
language stuff
the
is
way
just hooey.
The policy of the tax return to the 1%. This is a profanity. This is a political profanity that we need to be focusing on.
Yeah.
I mean, as an Arab and Muslim and African and all that hyphenated things, I myself, you know. She said, I'm not going to apologize for being me. And I think Muslim and Arab, they've been intimidated by this Islamophobia, and everybody's been accused of the T word. I think we should be angry. We should be, you know.
Steve King, the near Nazi to our south, part of the Republican Party, he doesn't apologize for white nationalists, white supremacists.
Look at the rallies.
And he's not kicked out of the Republican caucus. Yes, a couple of them are going, oh, we shouldn't say those words. But he's still in good standing in his own Republican caucus. Why are we all, there's old saying, which is, you know, Democrats like to eat their young. And it's. I think we had power for so long that we
challenging it.
We kind of thought, well, we can afford to. We can. We should pay attention to our voters because otherwise Donald Trump does, and he gets elected by people who used to be Democrats.
Oh, well, they are racist. The race is part of that. I think race has a lot to do with some of those Democrats. They voted for Trump. I
would.
A lot of women, even Trump, is stand. The attitude toward women, insulting women, sexual assault allegation.
If Trump hadn't been running against Hillary, there's no way. I don't think there's any other candidate he could have beaten. And
we beat about 15 Republicans in the primary.
Yeah, but they
well established.
They were like they were like toy soldiers. He just batted them down. But Hillary, she had such a established negative. She's the only one who could outrank Donald Trump's negative.
She was more than 20 points ahead in the beginning. She wasted them. She was ahead most of the campaign. But anyway, I think the Russian closure. But is it really politics these days is about ideology and ideas and revolution, radical ideas, or is about popularism and the politics of hate and the politics of identity? It's not so much about ideas. It's like what happened, I think that British guy, Primers, once says there is no right policy or left policy, there is a good policy. Mm-hmm. And this is happening now. I mean, we don't know this, the Democratic Party lost their connection to the structure of workers and laborers, and they just popularism. And look what Clinton did. They brought the Republic to the center, and it's still a corporate-run, party.
There is the inequities in wealth. Let alone the inequities in income, but the inequities as well, are so great that there should be this active contest between the parties that, you're going to stand with the people who have all the money, and we're going to stand with the people who produce all the goods. And we're getting back to that point.
Well, isn't that Marx?
Well,
who owns the means of production?
No, but when Humphrey and Mondale and Orville Freeman and when the people who created this Democratic Party, they did not create it for the wealthy bankers and the railroad magnates. And
that's also another issue, is the role of the government is monitoring the market Wall Street. Why the Republicans or the conservative or the people who wealth run for offices? Shouldn't they be working in Wall Street and try to make money and let the business of govern? We're supposed to monitoring the capitalists, how the dynamic of the marketplace and how the capitalist works. That's the role of the government.
Yeah, but the fox really puts on weight when it gets to guard the chicken house.
The billionaires to run for governments?
No, exactly.
So how does that work? How's it different than Europe?
Well, how's it different than the presidents, the Republican presidents of the 1920s?
Yeah, they were champion of all of this.
Yeah,
people and anti-slavery and all of that.
And then in the more modern time, we all bow to Reagan the saint now, and I speak well of the dead. There's certain anybody's better than Trump.
Yeah.
But
that he started it, Reagan. Huh?
But Reagan was the convenient stooge or foil of all the wealthy interests. But he could get up and talk
Yeah.
and bring in what they called Reagan Democrats. And so, no. Yes, we've got the corporations, but we're not satisfied with that. We'll take care of the legislative and the judicial. We'll handle the whole thing
That's
for
what's
you.
happening now. You know, the hiring judges and running for judges, all this money of Cox and Citizen United going after all of this.
Yeah.
Now they say 70% of judges we have there are conservative, and are really, those are the ones who make decisions that affects policy and power structure.
Yeah, if you look at a number of the decisions that have been surprisingly good lately, they have come from judges that Trump actually appointed. So it says that once somebody has a lifetime seat, either as a federal district or court, the Trump stuff is so bad that now, what that also means, though, is because they eventually, they're going to get a third and a fourth Supreme Court justice, et cetera. Well, that's going to make the radicals in the House Democrats and eventually in the Senate Democrats, that's going to put their shoulders really going to be to the wheel, because who's going to stand against a Republican president and a Republican judiciary? Right now, we've got the House. Hopefully, 2 years we'll have the Senate.
So maybe term limits for Supreme judges?
No, I think I'd let every judge have a lifetime appointment. I really worry about
the politics in it.
Yeah,
but it's happening now.
Yeah, Chief Justice Roberts, who was the great conservative savior and so forth and so on. Well, he saved Obamacare. I mean, he's gained the ever-loving enmity of the right wing for that, and he is now the new swing justice, and
they get to their judicial senses when they are the
they sort of line up with one thing people have noted is that, generally speaking, the Supreme Court pays attention to what the public feels. And so the Supreme Court did marriage equality when the elected branches of government wouldn't pay. I mean, we still had 80% of the people saying, yes, go ahead, but the elected officials wouldn't do it. The judiciary, they looked at it and they said, well, yeah, I think we'd
time for it.
Yeah, we'd just as soon have the court in the right place. And they certainly have not been eager to do outright repeal of Roe v. Wade and send everything back to the states. We may get there, but fortunately we haven't got there yet.
So the bottom line, it is really the people themselves and their enlightening. And I'm afraid we are now in a time where, social media and tweeting and all of that, and people, they're not genuinely involved in politics. They're involving in popularism and involving in hate rhetoric and all of this. And it's very, very hard. I think Johnson
has something to do with machine learning, that this was like old style stuff that happened in 2018. But what's going to be in 2020 is just going to blow us away.
Bob Meek is a political consultant and talking about the new left and the radical and the change in our politics.